Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into Atomic Habits by James Clear. And this book is all about a really simple but super powerful idea that tiny, almost invisible changes can lead to some truly remarkable results. But to really get this whole system, you've got to understand where the author is coming from. And his story, well, it doesn't start with some brilliant insight. It starts with a moment of absolute crisis. Just listen to how James Clear starts his book. During a regular baseball practice, a classmate's bat slipped out of his hands on a full swing, and it slammed right into Clear's face. He doesn't even remember it happening. The damage was just catastrophic. His nose was completely crushed, he had multiple fractures all over his face, and his brain started swelling. So dangerously, in fact, that doctors had to put him in a medically induced coma. When he finally woke up, he had to deal with weeks of double vision and just a long, painful road to recovery. So fast forward a year. He finally gets back on the baseball field, right? Only to face this absolutely crushing setback. He gets cut from the varsity team. The one thing he dreamed of, playing pro ball, it just felt totally impossible. So how did he turn it all around? Well, the crazy part is, it wasn't some big flashy aha moment. Nope. Instead, when he got to college, he just started focusing on the one thing he could control, building these tiny, almost unnoticeable habits. And these were his very first atomic habits. And we're talking super simple stuff, things like just getting to bed early, keeping his dorm room tidy, and lifting weights a few times a week. They seem so small, right? But what they did was give him this feeling of being in control again. And that little bit of confidence, it started to spill over into everything else. So this whole journey from absolute disaster to recovery, it showed him this incredibly powerful universal truth, and that is the amazing power of making these tiny 1% improvements. Okay, let's really dig into this idea. What if you could get just 1% better at something every single day? I know, it sounds like nothing, right? A barely noticeable effort. But here's where the magic happens. It's called compounding. That 1% improvement every day doesn't just add up, it multiplies. Over a year, you end up almost 37 times better than when you started. That's insane. And that right there is the power of an atomic habit. And this whole idea actually has a name, the aggregation of marginal gains. And there's this famous story about how it was used to completely transform the British cycling team, a team that had been basically mediocre for a century, into a global powerhouse. And when I say they used this idea, I mean they took it to a whole new level. They were looking for that 1% edge everywhere, even in places you would never think to look. They tested different massage gels, they hired a surgeon to teach riders how to wash their hands properly to avoid getting sick. They even painted the inside of their truck white just to spot tiny bits of dust that could mess with the bikes. Who does that? And the result of all these seemingly tiny gains? Absolute total domination. We're talking 5 Tour de France wins in 6 years. They snagged an incredible 60% of all the cycling gold medals at the 2008 Olympics, all from tiny changes. Okay, so we get it. Small improvements are the key. But how do we actually do it? Well, this is where the book gets kind of counterintuitive. It argues that we need to completely shift our focus away from goals. This slide really breaks down the difference between goals and systems. See, goals are the result you want, right? The finish line. But systems are the processes that actually get you there. And here's the kicker. Think about it. Winners and losers in any field, they often have the exact same goals. The thing that separates them is their system. And this leads to what is maybe the single most important quote in the whole book. Your progress isn't defined by how big and ambitious your goal is. It's all about the quality of your daily habits, your system. Okay, so all of this builds up to what I personally think is the most powerful idea in the entire book, how you can use these tiny changes to literally reshape who you are, your very identity. See, true, lasting change, it's not about just hitting some one-time goal. It's about changing your identity. The focus shifts from what do I want to achieve to who do I want to become. And this is so cool. The word identity actually comes from the Latin for repeated beingness. Your identity is literally the person you are through your repeated actions. So every habit you do, it's like casting a vote for the type of person you want to be. And the process for doing this, It's actually super simple, just 2 steps. First, you just decide, what kind of person do I want to be? A healthy person? A writer? An artist? And second, you start proving it to yourself with tiny, consistent wins. Every small action you take reinforces that new identity you're building. Okay, so what does all this mean for you right now? How can you take this amazing framework and actually put it into action? And here's the key takeaway. Don't try to overhaul your entire life tonight. That's not the point. The point is to start small, like ridiculously small. Just focus on one tiny habit, that one small vote you can cast today for the person you want to become. And that really is the question the book leaves us with. So forget about the marathon you want to run next year or the book you want to write someday. Just ask yourself, what is the one tiny vote you can cast today to start becoming the person you truly want to be?